Good evening, everyone. India is at an important crossroads in its fight against the mammoth second COVID wave, which continues to touch new peaks. Today on Viewpoint, we'll bring you how the Prime Minister held 3 back-to-back meetings, important ones, including hearing from all chief ministers on the worst affected states. The main crisis continues to be oxygen supplies, even as augmentation of beds and other facilities is also ongoing on a war footing across the country. But is politics continuing to hamper the joint state-center COVID fight? That's the big question today.
चुनौती बड़ी है, लेकिन हमें मिलकर अपने संकल्प, अपने हौसले और तैयारी के साथ इसको पार करना है। केंद्र सरकार, राज्य सरकारें, प्राइवेट सेक्टर, सभी की पूरी कोशिश है कि हर जरूरतमंद को ऑक्सीजन मिले। रेगुलेटरी प्रोसेसेस को फास्ट ट्रैक पर रखने के साथ ही सभी साइंटिफिक और रेगुलेटरी मदद को बढ़ाया गया है।
Here's a quick check of the main points as far as those meetings today chaired by the Prime Minister are concerned. Remember, there were meetings with the chief ministers of the worst affected states. There was an internal meeting and there also meeting of oxygen suppliers. The biggest issue that is coming up, as I mentioned, is the supply of oxygen. So, of course, the Prime Minister has reiterated today that states must ensure that no oxygen tanker is stopped. The MHA has already issued guidelines on the same. He, of course, reiterated that railways and the Indian Air Force are being used to reduce the travel time for oxygen tankers. We've been bringing you reports of how all of this is being done on a war footing. Crackdown on hoarding and black marketing of essential drugs. This is creating an artificial crisis. This is also leading, of course, to dangerous low levels of oxygen to hospitals that are needing it. Providing more than 15 crore vaccine doses to states for free. He reiterated this because a new thing has been now being said that the centre must continue to provide the vaccines to states after they liberalize their strategy on the demand of some states. Finally, the government has reiterated its commitment to ensure that nobody goes hungry. So the Garib Kalyan Yojana of providing food grains to the poorest in the country will now be extended for 2 more months. Remember, this is something that was done at the start of the lockdown itself, so that food grains is definitely not an issue. Let's also go across to the guests who are now joining us. RP Singh of the BJP, Dr. H.S. Balal, Chairman, Manipal Hospitals, Dr. S. Bagai, Chairman, Nephron Clinic are all joining us. We're also expecting Atishi from the Aam Aadmi Party to join us very soon. I first want to go across to RP Singh. RP Singh, before I come across to the behavior or the statements of the states, the question that the centre also faces is that could you not have done what you are doing now on the oxygen front much sooner? After all, the centre's task force is the one that is making all the preparations, looking at national trends.
See, let's understand, what has happened is unprecedented.
State health is a state subject. If I tell you, I should not do this, but even for record's sake, no politics into this. 17th April, Kejriwal also record saying that we have ample oxygen, we have everything in control. But all of a sudden there was spurt, which was not, I'm not blaming him. He could have also not expected this, and it has happened. So center is also taken up, and I can give you data. There is no shortage of oxygen as on date. But only thing is logistics. Yes, it has taken problem.
Yes,
It is a
but
problem.
that's exactly my question. That the firefighting on logistics that is going on today, could that have not been anticipated? Several experts today are saying that the trends across the globe were, and trends in India were too. In fact, there were alarms raised in India too at the central level that oxygen will be key.
Well, that was being said much before, somewhere in January, if I rightly remember, 22nd January, it was a letter was sent to the state government saying that please gear up, let us know what all you need. And then the demand has to come to the state. They have to do the projection and tell the center that we need this much.
Okay.
And then accordingly, center will provide for it. Even now, what has happened? In 3 days, centers are geared up the system. There's a oxygen express which is going, oxygen ferried by Air Force aeroplanes also. It's not that center is going to run away or going to let the state down. It's not that state versus center. It's a structure which is federal structure where we both have to put together, has to work and ensure that people are safe.
Okay.
But only thing is that projection has to come from the state. If there is a shortage of medicine today, the state has to ensure that projection is there. And also that more beds has to be, whether I'm not blaming any state government. I'm taking UP, Uttarakhand for your record, Haryana, but Maharashtra, Delhi, other states are also equally responsible. That they have to ensure that they have to give the projections, they have to build the infrastructure.
Okay, so
For
you're saying
example,
no alarm was raised at the right time. But let me just go across to Dr. Balal also. Sir, could you explain to our viewers what is the situation as we speak? You represent one of the largest hospital chains in the country. Is the situation getting better?
Good evening. Thank you for having me here.
Thank
Of
you.
course, this is an unprecedented crisis, and I would call this a corona emergency in the country. And without getting into the politics of it, I think we are in a state where there is oxygen in short supply, but the government and the Honorable Supreme Court have acted, and I think the oxygen supply will ease out very soon. Fortunately, I think the availability of oxygen is much better in the southern states than in some of the northern parts of the country, including Delhi. So our consumption of oxygen has gone up phenomenally. I think don't think anyone expected this. Just to give you an example, we are filling our oxygen cylinders once in 4 weeks, and now we do that every second day. So it's almost a 10 to 15 time increase in the oxygen demand because one, huge number of cases, and two, corona is a disease that requires a lot of oxygen. Every patient who's admitted to the hospital who's sick will need oxygen. And there are multiple ways of delivering oxygen, including what we call as high flow nasal oxygen, which is a relatively new therapy where anywhere between 40 to 80 liters per minute of oxygen is given, which was unheard of in the earlier days. So all put together, I think there was a huge, huge demand. And there was not enough medical oxygen available in the country. But the government has acted by diverting all industrial oxygen to medical purposes, and also has speeded up the transport of oxygen because that's a huge logistical issue. They have set up trains, tankers, now the Air Force, many private industries like the Tatas have promised to airlift
Yes.
oxygen. So I'm sure this will ease down, but it has caused a lot of heartburn and more importantly, a lot of hardship to the patients who are in hospitals requiring oxygen.
Yes. I just wanted to get a sense from you how you managed this crisis, because you know what happened over the last few days, Dr. Balal, is that several hospitals had to go to the court. Several hospitals had to, put out SOSs on Twitter, for example, on social media. That raised a lot of alarm. And it created a lot of panic because we've not seen something like this playing out ever in, our lifetimes, of course. And of course, this is a once in a century kind of pandemic. So in a long, long time. How did you manage this at your level?
What you said is absolutely true. I've been in medical practice for almost 5 decades, and never in the history have I seen a patient struggle to get oxygen, and also in the fear that I may not get the oxygen. And doctors literally sort of saying that if there's no oxygen in an hour or two, we'll be doomed for our patients. So what we did is, of course, we have a large number of our operations in the south, where I think the oxygen supply was not an issue. But we have a entire team dedicated only to procuring oxygen and making sure that the logistics was okay. Of course, we had some problems in Jaipur and Delhi, but never in a situation where we had to stop our operation or impending stopping of the operation, though we came close to that in a couple of our hospitals. So I think we need to be proactive. And I say we, it is the central government, the state governments, the individual hospitals, and the individual local bodies that also take the final road where the oxygen is supplied to the hospitals. So I think it has to be a collective effort. And I'm glad now the center has completely taken over the supply of oxygen. I think this state versus center debate of healthcare has created some hardship, especially in the supply of oxygen. Hopefully that will be smoothed out. And my consolation is that we have seen this happen in Spain, Europe, America, where there was a crisis after crisis. People were getting intubated on the streets, basements of hospitals, but they've all come out of it. And I'm sure, being optimistic, that India will also come out of it. But we have to go through some hardship for a few more weeks.
A few more weeks. Okay, Doctor, stay with us. I'll come back to you. Reena Gupta of the Aam Aadmi Party is also joining us. So, Reena, there are some questions that have been raised over what happened in the Chief Minister's and Prime Minister's meeting today. Before I come to that, the controversy that was raised, are you satisfied now? Do you believe that your concerns have been heard, met? Will the situation in the national capital, you believe, only improve from here?
So, Shivani, we've been requesting an increased quota for a few days now, and even though our quota had been increased, but what was happening was that because of issues in the states of UP and Haryana, where the chief ministers of those two states were not allowing the trucks to leave, so on paper the quota had increased, but on ground the situation had remained the same, and in fact we were not even getting our earlier quota. So that is the reason why the CM raised this issue with the Honorable Prime Minister today. And he has assured us that everything will be taken care of. But even as we speak, there are several hospitals in Delhi which have oxygen only left for a few hours. So unless we see some action on the ground, I cannot say anything. I can just hope and pray and request that things improve on the ground. But we need to see some action in real time, and only the central government can do that.
Okay. Can I ask you why this, why did this happen where what Kejriwal said in the meeting was, released to the media? There was an objection raised on the BJP on this, and then the Chief Minister also seemed to apologize on this. Could all of this have been avoided?
So, Shivani, it's really sad to see that even in an hour of crisis like this, all that the Bharatiya Janata Party is interested in doing is headline management. I don't see anything wrong that the CM did today. He was presenting his situation, and nothing was sent to the Chief Minister's office that this is a confidential meeting. A similar meeting which happened with the Prime Minister on 8th of April was live telecasted. How are we supposed to know that this was some confidential meeting? And this was a meeting related to the health of the country. And I don't see, it was not as if some defense strategy was being discussed.
Okay,
so
okay.
the people
Let
of
me
this
take that to a
country have
BJP
a right
representative. RP Singh, what's the big issue even if that clip was released?
Shivani, the Chief Minister, as he spent 290, I have RTA reply, 293.16 crore rupees for his personal publicity in last 1 year, and that's what he did today also. It reminds me of Musharraf, what Musharraf did in 2001 for an informal meeting happening with a journalist here, and he had it live telecast in a Pakistan TV. Remember that? There's something like that happening. So there is a protocol which is managed, and you can't telecast a Prime Minister meeting without the permission of the Prime Minister or without the permission of the PMO. But the problem is, and can give me a second, but their Chief Secretary would have briefed them, but they don't rely on the Chief Secretary. They call the Chief Secretary to their offices or to residence and then beat them blue and red, and then they send them back. That's what happened in Delhi. That's why Chief Secretaries are scared of telling them the protocols also. But the fact is, he's talking about politics. He's talking about that Haryana is stopping the quota. Another sentence. Quota from Haryana. No way. I'm telling you on record. Yesterday also, police has to escort oxygen from Panipat because Singhu border is blocking it. And then there was a police escort which got the oxygen to Jaipur Golden. I'll request, please, you can win election in Punjab. You do whatever you want to do in Punjab after we are over with Corona. But for that sake, don't go and support those people, or at least tell your friends to leave a corridor for oxygen to come.
No, the specific question is that Haryana and UP don't want extra supplies to go to Delhi.
I'm saying it's the other way around. The roads are being blocked by their friends whom they are supporting. Can I come? I never interrupt you, Reena. Please stop it. And Haryana is sending oxygen. It's being blocked. It has to take 4 hours extra to come to Delhi because their friends whom they are supporting for election in Punjab are not going
we've heard from state governments on this. Frankly, I want to move forward because Haryana and UP have also issued clarifications that they have not done anything of this sort. Reena, I want to come to you on a different issue though. In the larger center versus opposition states or Delhi battle, now look at what has happened. Earlier states said, why is the center controlling the vaccine procurement? Allow us to procure it. We will manage according to our local needs. Aam Aadmi Party also wanted to expand its drive. You said we are capable of doing door-to-door vaccination. But today states are saying, how can you put the burden on the states? Even though in the current cycle also, people are paying 250 rupees. It's not like everybody is taking it for free. So there are many people in the country who can pay 250 rupees or 450 rupees for a vaccine shot. So is this not politics? On top of that, West Bengal today has officially complained that oxygen produced in the state is being diverted. Now, what do you do in such a situation?
So, Shivani, one has to understand the federal structure of the country. There are certain things which the central government is supposed to do. There are certain things which the state government is supposed to do. And that is the reason why we have this federal structure. So if you look at vaccination, you look at procurement of injections like remdesivir, you look at oxygen. Oxygen is a regulated commodity. The central government decides the quotas for various states. It even decides that the quota for Delhi will be filled from which plants. So these things are all done centrally.
Yeah, but
now
what
the problem
about vaccines,
is
Reena?
Vaccines, yes. Even the vaccine procurement till now in the history of the country has always been done by the central government. We've done huge vaccination programs. COVID vaccination is nothing compared to what polio and MMR and everything else that we've done over the years and done very successfully. The issue is that the central government, instead of ensuring there was sufficient vaccine in the country, wanted to gain brownie points in the international arena, and they exported the vaccine which was meant for the country.
No, Reena, let's move forward. I'm asking you, are you okay with 50% supplies, extra supplies being bought by you?
So, Shivani, have a look at this. Now, how can you have two price points for the same vaccines in the country?
No way.
You know, the central government will procure at 150 and the state government will procure the same vaccine
at 400. Okay, so that's your central opposition. Okay, I'll take that to BJP. Although Serum Institute has also clarified that earlier price was last year's price. There was a pre-order made. Now the price has been rationalized. Okay, RP Singh.
No. See, there's the specialty of the Aam Aadmi Party. I mean, they'll spread falsehood every day. But they can't do.
Don't get into politics. Can we just talk about facts?
Please, I didn't interrupt you.
Okay, ma'am, please let him speak now. Let him speak. Let him speak, ma'am. Ma'am, let him speak.
Facing a pandemic. Let's not politicize it. The country is facing a
pandemic.
pandemic.
I would request you, we don't do cross talk. He was waiting when you were speaking. Please allow him time.
Thank you, Shivani. Those first lot was given for the doctors, corona warriors, and people who suffer some disease. It was not a price, and now the price tag is same for center and the state. There's no difference. Center will also provide to the government hospital at the same price, 400 rupees. State, if they want to pick up, they can pick up. They want to do a special campaign, they can do. They don't want to do, even then the center will do. But they have to do politics into it. I mean, just now, it is on record, and I've clarified it. But I'm telling you, tomorrow again on your channel, they'll come and speak lies. But again, let me come to the oxygen part. I request, man, please go and tell your friends to leave a corridor from Singhu border. You can contest election with your support in Punjab, but allow oxygen from, Shivani, please. 140 metric ton oxygen come from Panipat out of 480 metric ton which is decided for Delhi. I request you, folded-handed. I beg you for the Delhiites, don't play over the death bodies of the Delhiites for your Punjab politics.
Okay, I want to go across toward the doctors on the panel also. Dr. Bagai, I'm coming to you, but if I can just go across to Dr. Balal once again on the new Zydus drug, for example, that has been approved. Now, it is being said that that drug will really help as far as, younger patients, milder patients are concerned. And it will also, in a way, cut the dependency on remdesivir, which the central government guidelines now anyway say is not really for everyone. They are trying to discourage the widespread use of remdesivir. Your thoughts on that?
It's a very important question that you raised. There is a false impression that the remdesivir is a magic bullet for all patients with corona, which is not true. There are specific indications. And of course, it's helpful in some cases, but it's certainly not a magic bullet that will cure everyone. So it has to be used judiciously. Today, the government has approved one more drug for the use of corona, which is an interferon kind of drug. So we'll still need to have more data because as you're aware, since corona started, numerous drugs have come in. There's been a honeymoon period and then the drugs have vanished without any trace, whether it's doxycycline, chloroquine, and so many other drugs. So I think it's too early for us to say whether it will completely reduce the requirement for remdesivir. But remdesivir, we have had a lot of experience in India, and many physicians in India are quite comfortable with the use of it. Of course, the new drug has to be tried out, and it's too early to judge the efficacy and also to judge whether that will replace remdesivir.
Okay.
But I do want to assure you that none of these drugs are magic bullets. The minute you sniff it, take it, you'll be cured of corona. That's not true. There is conservative management and certain accepted therapies for corona, which include steroids in some cases, blood thinners in many other cases, supportive treatment, oxygen, so on and so forth. So I don't want people to go under the impression that if you don't get remdesivir, you'll die right away.
Okay.
That is not true. Use of these drugs have to be very judicious so that we don't create an artificial scarcity.
And today, of course, there has to be greater fight against hoarding and black marketing of these drugs also. Even oxygen is falling prey to these practices. Dr. Bagai, there is a lot of information floating about what to do if your oxygen is around the 90 to 92 mark. Because there is now obviously an effort to discourage people from rushing to hospitals. One of the advices is you lie on your stomach for a while. That helps in greater oxygenation in your body. Could you please clarify if that is accurate? Should people do that? And what else can they do at home?
Okay, just two quick points. One is what Dr. Balal mentioned. I agree with him. Just a small add-on. The interferon is actually, it's a nasal or a nebulized therapy, so it's easy to give. And it is used very early on in the phase of coronaviruses. There are studies which have even been published in New England Journal of Medicine. And this decreases the viral load in the nasal passage, so the transmission decreases, and it works directly against the inflammatory marker of IL-6, so it brings down the infectivity. So it's a good thing, but it is nowhere related to replacement of ridansivir.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Second thing, with regards to what we call as proning, that means lying on the abdomen, I would strongly suggest that people at home don't do it. It is primarily and specifically used for people who are on ventilation or prolonged ventilation. And the reason is when you put a person prone, that means on the chest and abdomen, you get a better lung capacity and vital capacity. Your ventilation and oxygenation improves as far as your ventilatory markers are concerned.
Okay.
So it's not something which should be just done routinely at home because there's not much benefit if you're
But in an
any case
emergency
well in health.
situation?
In an emergency situation, the last thing which you should do is to put a person upside down,
Okay.
because you lose control on the what we call as the circulation and the airway in case you need to intervene. So I strongly recommend not to be done, especially for people with comorbids or who are obese or who are single people. They'll find it very difficult. So please, these are all therapies which are specifically hospital-based. Let's not try in a mix and match piecemeal kind of approach at home.
And what about the drugs that people can take at home? There is again information floating that you can take paracetamol or stay hydrated, take your vitamins. All of that helps till which level, till what level?
Okay, so just very quickly to eliminate each and everyone's doubt, any vitamins which you are taking just as a feel-good factor, in case there is a deficiency, take it for other reasons. None of them work as far as SARS-CoV-2 is concerned. Neither vitamin C, nor zinc, nor vitamin D. Long-term longitudinal studies have proven that. With regards the antivirals, be it ivermectin, be it Fabiflu, or indeed any other medication, including some people have taken ridansivir at home as IV. None of them work. In fact, WHO and the Cochrane trial, which is the largest multinational-based data crunching platform, has proven that it's not useful, and it's actually taken off the list of recommended drugs of COVID-19.
Okay.
No steam inhalation, which gets rid of COVID-19, no other home remedies. The only thing you can take is paracetamol for fever, hydrate yourself well, check your saturation every 4 to 6 hours, make sure you're passing adequate amount of urine, your alertness level and normal activity level is normal.
Okay.
Keep in touch with your doctor on a daily basis. 90-95% of COVID positive patients can be managed very well at home.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that, with the hope, of course, as both the medical practitioners on our panel are saying, that there is no need to panic. India's mortality rate is very low still, one of the best in the world. The systems are being augmented and situation can only improve from here. So here's the hope that everyone can come together, politics aside, to make sure that we can absolutely fight this battle. to the very last step. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Here's also a reminder, after a very short break, we'll be taking on the issues dominating the discourse in Bengal as it culminates towards the final few phases of elections. Also, a special guest, former Deputy Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Subrata Saha, joining us.